The year is 1986. Patricia McDermott, a bright-eyed young woman from a small town in Pennsylvania, felt she had finally found her fairy tale. She'd met James Allen Bryant, a charming and charismatic man who swept her off her feet. He seemed perfect, attentive, ambitious, and deeply in love. Their romance was a whirlwind. Friends and family were surprised by how quickly things moved, but Patricia was radiant. In just a few short months, they were engaged, planning a future filled with love and adventure. They married in a modest ceremony, their eyes set on a sun-drenched honeymoon in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was supposed to be the beginning of their happily ever after. Instead, it was the beginning of a nightmare. For Patricia, this dream trip would be her last. Just days into their honeymoon, tragedy struck. Patricia was found dead, her body discovered in the calm waters of a canal. At first glance, it seemed like a tragic accident. James Bryant, the grieving husband, told police a heartbreaking story. He said they were taking a late-night stroll when Patricia, a non-swimmer, slipped and fell into the water. He claimed he tried desperately to save her, diving in again and again, but the darkness and the current were too much. His story was filled with emotion, his grief seemingly palpable. The initial report was straightforward: accidental drowning. A beautiful life cut short by a terrible misfortune. The local police were ready to close the case, another sad but simple file in a busy city. But for one detective, something about Bryant's story just didn't add up. Detective Sarah Kowalski of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department was known for her sharp instincts and relentless pursuit of the truth. When she reviewed the file on Patricia McDermott's death, tiny inconsistencies began to nag at her. Why would a non-swimmer be walking so close to the edge of a deep canal at night? Why were there no scuff marks on the bank to indicate a slip? Kowalski decided to dig deeper. She started with James Allen Bryant himself. His grief, which had seemed so convincing at first, now felt a little too practiced, a little too perfect. She interviewed him again, pressing for more details about the moments leading up to Patricia's fall. His story remained the same, but his demeanor shifted under her steady gaze. A flicker of annoyance, a hint of impatience. It was a crack in the facade, and Kowalski was determined to break it wide open. Kowalski's investigation took her back to Pennsylvania, to Patricia's hometown. She spoke with friends and family, painting a picture of a woman who was kind and trusting, perhaps a little naive, but full of life. They described their shock at the speed of her relationship with Bryant. They also revealed something crucial. Patricia had recently come into a modest inheritance. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a significant amount of money. Back in Fort Lauderdale, Kowalski's team made another chilling discovery. Just weeks before their wedding, James Bryant had taken out a massive life insurance policy on Patricia. The total payout in the event of her death? A staggering $200,000. The beneficiary, of course, was James himself. The pieces were starting to fall into place. This wasn't a tragic accident. It was a cold, calculated plan. Bryant hadn't married for love. He had married for money. The motive was now clear: greed. But Kowalski still needed concrete evidence to prove murder. She revisited the autopsy report. The medical examiner had noted some faint bruising on Patricia's neck and back, initially dismissed as insignificant. Kowalski asked him to re-examine everything. Under closer scrutiny, the bruises told a different story. They were consistent with someone being held down, forcibly submerged. This wasn't the body of a woman who had simply slipped and drowned. This was the body of a woman who had fought for her life. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. A witness who had been fishing nearby on the night of the incident came forward. He initially thought nothing of the couple he saw arguing near the canal, but after reading about the death in the paper, he contacted the police. He described seeing a man physically struggling with a woman, pushing her toward the water's edge. With the witness testimony and the revised autopsy report, Detective Kowalski finally had what she needed. The case against James Allen Bryant was no longer circumstantial. It was a solid, damning indictment of a man who had murdered his new bride for profit. The arrest was made. Bryant's charm vanished, replaced by a cold, defiant anger. He maintained his innocence, sticking to his story of a tragic accident. The media frenzy began, dubbing him the Honeymoon Killer. The story was sensational, a whirlwind romance that ended in a brutal murder, all for a life insurance payout. The public was captivated and horrified. The man who had promised to love and protect Patricia for the rest of her life had, in fact, been her executioner from the very beginning. The trial of James Allen Bryant was a media sensation. The prosecution, led by Detective Kowalski's meticulous groundwork, laid out the case piece by piece. They presented the life insurance policies taken out just before the wedding. They called Patricia's family to the stand, who spoke of their suspicions about Bryant's haste to marry. The medical examiner detailed the forensic evidence, explaining how the bruises on Patricia's body pointed not to an accidental fall, but to a violent struggle. The fisherman's testimony was powerful, providing an eyewitness account of the conflict by the canal just before Patricia's death. The prosecution painted a picture of a predatory and ruthless conman who saw Patricia not as a partner, but as a piggy bank to be broken open. He didn't just want her inheritance. He wanted the much larger insurance jackpot. The defense team tried to discredit the evidence. They argued the bruises were from Bryant's frantic attempts to save his wife. They attacked the credibility of the fisherman, suggesting his memory was faulty. They portrayed Bryant as a devoted husband, shattered by grief and now wrongly accused by an overzealous police force. Bryant himself took the stand, delivering a performance of a lifetime. He cried, he shouted, he professed his undying love for Patricia. He looked the jury in the eye and swore he was innocent. For a moment, his act was almost believable. But the prosecution's cross-examination was brutal. They poked holes in his timeline, highlighted his financial desperation before meeting Patricia, and forced him to admit he was the sole beneficiary of the massive insurance policy. His composure cracked, and the jury saw the cold, calculating man beneath the mask. After weeks of testimony, the case went to the jury. Deliberations were surprisingly short. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury returned with a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. James Allen Bryant, the Honeymoon Killer, showed no emotion as the verdict was read. His charade was over. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Justice for Patricia McDermott had been served, but it was a somber victory. Her family was left to mourn a life stolen by greed and deception. Detective Sarah Kowalski, though satisfied with the outcome, was forever changed by the case. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a charming smile. The story of Patricia McDermott and James Allen Bryant serves as a chilling cautionary tale. It highlights the dangers of whirlwind romances and the importance of trusting your instincts. Patricia's trusting nature was exploited by a predator who saw her as nothing more than a means to an end. Her tragic death reminds us that true evil can wear the most convincing disguises. The case also stands as a testament to diligent police work. Without Detective Kowalski's refusal to accept the easy answer, a cold-blooded killer might have gotten away with murder and profited from his crime. Patricia's story is a heartbreaking legacy, a warning against the monsters who walk among us, hidden in plain sight. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more true crime documentaries.